Hello YouTube, Goddard Radio Moscow here again with another beer review for you, as is usual. So for this one we're going to go back to Denmark, and it's my first review of a Danish beer in quite a wee while actually. The last one I did was before I went to Germany. So we're going to return to Copenhagen and have a little taste of a beer from Mikkeller. This one is the Zest Please, which is a porter brewed with orange peel. Now this is another one supplied to me by Thistle News in Aberdeen, owned by Lewis, who is actually quite knowledgeable on his beer, and if you're watching in the city of Aberdeen, definitely go and check his store out. They've got a load of really good Danish beer actually, and they do get the odd other random thing in, but it's mainly the Danish beer I get from him, and some of the Brewdog beers as well. So check him out if you're watching in the city of Aberdeen, like I say. But as is usual with my beer reviews, then I'll take you through a brief history of the brewery and tell you a little bit about where the beer's from. As I always say though, if you are simply just interested in the tasting of this beer, just go a few minutes into the video and you will catch that. And as always, the brewery website's in the video description for you below, along with the link to my other my other Mikkeller beer reviews, sorry. Now Mikkeller's a microbrewery, or a gypsy brewery, founded by home brewers Christian Klarup Keller and Mikkel Borg Bjergso, based in Copenhagen in Denmark. Gypsy brewing simply means that they don't have their own brewing facility, and they brew at the sort of spare capacity, if you like, in other breweries. But Mikkel Bjergso apparently travelled the world quite a lot and tried over 200 different types of beer, but his first exposure to foreign beer was a job he had in a cafe while he was studying to become a teacher. And when he was qualified as a teacher, he actually used to stop at a pub on his way home for a beer every day, and he tried the IPA from the Danish brewery Brokehouse, and it was at this point that he decided that he would save a hell of a lot of money if he actually brewed his own beer. Now Mikkel and Christian actually drew some inspiration from the American craft brewing books, and they started brewing in their kitchens at home, and they presented some of their sort of clone beers that they were doing to a beer club, and they won in the blind tasting, and then this got the pair hooked on the idea of home brewing. But their kitchen experiments lasted for 2.5 years before the pair began brewing beer on a larger scale at the Danish microbrewery Orbeek. Now Mikkel's brother Jeppe actually opened up a beer shop in Copenhagen in 2005, and he began to distribute the early Mikkeller beers that were going around at that time. But the big breakthrough in the international beer world for Mikkeller arose with the idea of adding French press coffee to an oatmeal stout, and the result was the Beer Geek Breakfast, which was voted #1 stout on the international beer forum ratebeer.com. You probably have heard of that, but that kick-started Mikkeller's international success. And after attending the Danish Beer Festival in 2006, the brewery were courted by an American distribution company called Shelton Brothers, and this substantially helped their growth by distributing their beers in North America. But in 2007, Christian Keller parted ways with the company because he didn't want to sort of be the experimental brewery that Mikkeller have kind of developed into now. He wanted to just have a sort of core range of beers, if you like. So he's now actually an editor at the Danish music magazine Sound Venue. But the brewery, as I mentioned to you earlier, doesn't have its own brewing facility, so obviously you can't go and get tours, etc. But they actually brew at a variety of host facilities in several different countries, and this includes Denmark, Norway, Belgium, Scotland, England, and also the USA as well. Most of their beer is actually brewed at De Proefbrouwerij in Hoofde Christe in Belgium, I believe. But their home base as such is in the Mikkeller bar in Copenhagen, and they also have a second bar in Copenhagen that's called Mikkeller and Friends, and this is one that's shared with Thistle, the other Copenhagen gypsy brewery. But they very recently opened up another bar in San Francisco, which is their first location out with Denmark, and they also have one in Bangkok in Thailand as well. Quite a random place for a beer bar actually. But today Mikkeller actually export to 40 different countries all over the world, and they've brewed over 600 varieties of beer, and this encompasses a massive array of styles, obviously, flavours and ingredients. And it's said that the brewery drew their inspiration, as I said to you, from the American craft brewing industry, and the whole aim of the company was actually to make beer an alternative to champagne for drinking with gourmet foods and things. And the company also collaborates with several other brewers such as Brewdog, Nonya in Norway, Three Floyds in America, and also Thistle just over in Copenhagen. But the brewery has a blog on their website. You can keep up to date with the kind of latest goings on at the brewery, and I think the most recent thing I saw was that they had employed Keith Shore from Philadelphia to be their art director, so this is where a lot of their kind of artwork comes from. One thing that's also worth mentioning about this brewery as well is that Mikkel's brother Jeppe Bjergso, the one who I mentioned to you had the beer shop in Copenhagen, he's involved with Evil Twin Brewing, and this is also another very good brewery, and I have one of their beers to review for you at a later date. The reason I haven't done it so far is I couldn't find the history part on their website. It seemed to have broken down, but we'll get that done for you in the near future anyway. But Pardon me, let's get on with the tasting of this beer then. Apologies about that, I don't know what's going on with me lately. But yeah, we'll get on. I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at the artwork on this one. This guy is a 7% ABV porter. This one is brewed in Belgium apparently. And it says on the back, yeah, it's brewed at De Proefbrouwerij Lokreeste Hefte in Belgium. And as you can see, I don't know why it has a mother and a baby on the artwork actually. It would be quite interesting to know how they actually choose these sort of artwork, what the idea behind them is. But usually Mikkeller artwork has a kind of very distinctive style, if you like. There's the top label on it there. You can see it looks like it's just a sort of kind of rather random kind of blob on the top of it there, and it's just always with Mikkeller, you always just get the plain bottle caps, and I think that's just due to the fact that they are a gypsy brewery, if you like. But let's get this guy open and get on with the tasting. As I mentioned to you earlier, it's a 7% porter beer that's brewed with orange peel. As you can see, a nice little smoky opening, just a little bit of it kind of jumped up on the top there. But this is very, very dark beer. A nice, really, really dark head on this one actually. Very attractive looking beer, I have to say. Quite surprised simply at how dark this beer is actually. So I'll just bring up the camera and make sure that you're seeing this actually, because it's a really attractive looking beer actually. So if I just bring this up to the camera here so you can see, very, very dark, and as you can see about a 3-finger chocolate head on it. It's very, very dark head. If I hold it up to the light, it's got just a little hint of a kind of ruby edge to it. I'll see if I can bring the light over and just let you see that actually. If I bring the light up just a little bit, you can just see the sort of exact colour of this beer. A very nice sort of chocolatey head on it, a really, really big one, and you can smell the chocolate coming off of this guy actually, but just a little ruby tint to it. I can't really see much in the way of carbonation going up onto the bottom of the head, but I think that's just due to the fact of how dark it is, to be honest with you. But let's give it a smell and see how we get on here. If I can get it to kind of go down a little bit. But I think Adam from Adam's Craft Beer channel, he reviewed this one and he told me that it smells like chocolate orange, Terry's chocolate orange that we get over here. And I can see where he's getting that from, definitely. It's got a nice little bit of roasted coffee underlying, but the sort of top layer of the malty base really is a kind of sort of orangey chocolate. And that's what you'd expect, obviously. It's brewed with orange peel, but it's very, very malty, as you would expect. A good bit of roasted malts just in the background, but there's some kind of rye. I think there's a little bit of kind of rye bread characters to it, but overall it's a nice milky chocolate, really kind of quite prominent milky chocolate orange flavour or aroma that's coming from this guy so far. Really interesting beer actually. Maybe this is maybe it's Terry's chocolate orange that they got their inspiration from, but it's really nice. It smells beautiful. So let's give it a taste and see how we get on. I'm really interested to try this now, just with it being like Terry's chocolate orange. It's really unusual actually. It smells like Terry's chocolate orange, but it's actually quite a little bit darker than that. You're getting a lot more coffee. You're getting a lot more coffee and roasted malt coming out in the flavour, I think. Yeah, it's got a lot of nice roasted coffee malts on the opening. There's a little bit of bready character in there. As I say, I think it's a little bit of a rye bread in there. But the coffee's actually adding quite a nice little bit of bitter flavour to it, and that's kind of sitting just on the middle of the tongue. But you've got this nice, zesty orange citrus freshness that's kind of going around the edges of the tongue, and that's obviously what they were going for. But yeah, if you actually don't let it sit on the tongue so much, if you kind of just take a little gulp of it, you're starting to get the more milk chocolatey character coming out just over the back of the tongue. And if you sort of swirl it around a little bit, you're getting the same, you're getting the nice orangey zesty character just on the outsides of the tongue, and on the middle of the tongue you're getting just a little bit, right in the middle of the tongue you'll get a little bit of that coffee bitterness, and you get the nice sort of milky chocolatey orange flavours in there. I do think there is just a little bit of a kind of bready character to this. Maybe not rye bread, I'm maybe talking rubbish with that, but there is some element of kind of bready and yeasty character to this as well, but it's quite subtle. The main thing is the sort of coffee and the milky chocolate malt. It's really, really nice. The bitterness with this one actually builds right at the end of the beer. It comes out in the middle of the tongue right at the end, and it's kind of lingering into the aftertaste. The aftertaste sort of gradually becomes more of a roasted coffee bitterness, and the milk chocolate flavours start to fade a little bit, but you do have just a little bit of that kind of lingering citric flavour to it as well. But yeah, it's really nice. The mouthfeel of this one, I definitely say it's full-bodied, or it's mid-bodied, really pushing full-bodied at the very least. But it's actually very, very smooth. The carbonation is good because it helps sort of bring the coffee bitter flavour out in it a little bit. It aids in that. But it's got a slightly kind of creamy texture as you go through the beer. Maybe slightly oily as well. It's got a nice kind of, when it's chilled like I have it just now, it has a nice sort of oily texture to it as well, and that helps bring out the citric flavour and the chocolate a little bit more actually. It sort of helps blend that together, I think. But it's a very, very nice beer, so I recommend that you give it a go if you get the chance. But it's very unusual to find a porter that's I've never seen one before that's a porter beer that's kind of blended with orange peel. But they've done it very, very well, and obviously here in Scotland and the rest of the UK and stuff like that, and over in Ireland as well, we have the Terry's Chocolate Orange, and it reminds us a lot of this. I don't know if you get that in the likes of Australia, New Zealand, Canada, America. Yeah, I know you don't get it in mainland Europe, but I don't know if in the English-speaking countries how common it is to actually get this, but it's really, really nice beer. But yeah, this guy is another really awesome beer from Mikkeller. Really unusual to have a porter that has this kind of sort of zesty freshness to it, if you like. It's quite unusual in that regard. So if you want a porter that's a little bit unusual compared to what you get, this is definitely one to go for. And if you try anything from Mikkeller, as long as you pick a style that you quite like, you definitely won't be disappointed with anything that they're producing. So go and check out the Mikkeller brewery, see if you can find a beer that you like. They're one of my sort of favourite breweries actually these days. Mikkeller and Thistle in Copenhagen really are sort of top class little breweries. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed my sort of reviews on this beer. I hope it's been informative for you, and please let me know in the comments section, as always, if you have tried this beer yourself. It's always interesting to hear other people's thoughts on it. But thanks again for your support over my 230 or so videos that I've done now. There will be more beers from Mikkeller coming over the next little while, and Thistle as well. I've got a crate of 24 that's made up of Mikkeller and Thistle, so you will see quite a few Danish beers coming to you over the next little while. But thanks again for watching my beer reviews, and I'll catch you soon with more. Cheers.